What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the LA Soccer Hub Show. My name is Gio Garcia, coming back at you with two episodes today. We're talking LAFC. We got more LAFC news to talk about. We have a special guest. He goes by the name of Benjamin with the heart of LAFC. Ben, how you doing?
Doing good, good, Gio. How are you? Thank you for having me on the show. It's been a long time. I know you've been asking me to come on, but we finally made it happen. So let's talk some LAFC.
I know, man. You've been a busy guy. I've been trying to get you on, but I understand. You got things to do. I got things I got to do. Sometimes it doesn't align, but hey, the start of the season is here. So I saw you at the game. I was like, let's see if we can make it happen. We made it happen, man. But I'm good, man. I'm excited. Like I said, 2 days away from the season, we're gonna get fans back. There's gonna be a lot of emotions, right? From remember the last time people were at the bank to now, it's finally here, right? So,
Right.
how you feeling about that?
I mean, I'm excited that fans are finally allowed to be back in the stadium. I know it's not going to be, normal like how it used to be with, 22,000 fans in the stadium. I think it's only going to be like 4,000 people, right? That's
Yeah, like
what.
about like 4,400 or so, give or take. That's what they said. So I'm assuming it's gonna be like that, just a little over that. It's not gonna be the same as a packed house, but hey, we got some fans.
We got to take what we can get, right?
Exactly right. So it's like I'm interested to see how the 3252 will look and how spaced out they will be because we did see how 700 vaccinated essential workers were there, but it still looked pretty empty with 700 because how
Right.
how many seats the stadium has.
And I think it also just depends on like what type of fans are going. You have the fans that like to scream and like to yell. Then you have the fans that just kind of like just want to enjoy the game and sit back and watch. So we'll see what kind of ambience we get on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah. For the listeners who aren't really familiar with you, right? I know it's been a while. Tell us how you guys started with Heart of LAC. Tell me how you got started with that. Just educate us how you started that and why you chose to cover LAFC.
Yeah, so I've been following the club since 2018 since they started. I remember watching the first game when Rossi scored the goal against Seattle. I was at home going crazy. So basically, how I started with Heart of LAFC. It all started with reading Vince's takeaways on the LAFC.com website. Shout out Vince LaRosa. I really like the way he writes. So I just reached out to him and I was like, hey, I like your writing. How can I do what you do? Any advice on can I get in as media to the games? And he just told me, just maybe reach out reach out to one of the podcasts. Maybe they have someone you can write for them. So I reached out to Jerry Jimenez, the Podfather, Heart of LAFC. Yeah, he just told me to jump on, and they didn't mind having a writer, match day correspondent for the game. So I just, my first match as media was the playoff match against RSL, LAFC RSL. That was my first game covering for Heart of
That's a great
LAFC.
game to cover, by the way, even though they
Yeah,
lost, but you get to cover a playoff game.
yeah, I was super like nervous. I don't know what to expect. It was like my first time doing media, so yeah, it was great. And that was the start of everything. Ever since then, I've just been covering LAFC since then.
Yeah, and I think I remember like I always try to remember people my first interactions with people, and I think I ran into you at the at like practice. I think I ran into you to like an LAFC practice,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I never seen you before, but I was just like, hey, what's up, man? Like like, and I think you followed me on Twitter or something, and then that's when I started paying attention to what you were doing. And from there now, right, it's crazy how right, like our relationship has grown, and also like how we've been able to see how LAFC has grown through that process as well.
Right,
The
right,
players
right.
that have come in and out, obviously going through what 2020, not doing everything through Zoom, trying to get our questions answered through Zoom and stuff. It's been a
Right.
very, very interesting year. But yeah, man, I've loved your growth. I love the way you write your articles. I mean, you do a pretty good job, and I think you've come a long way in this short amount of time with how you express yourself in your writing. And I really like it. I really try to stay in tune with with what you guys are doing and everything. So props to you, man, and everything you're doing. So keep doing it, man, because like I've talked to you, we're always talking, right? Either either pre-chat or like last game, for example, I couldn't see the name. They didn't have names in the back of their jersey, right? And I'm like looking around. I'm like, Ben, who was it? Did you see who it was? Was it Eddie? Was it Chicky
Right.
Palacios? Right? And then like we kind of just go back and forth and try to talk, and it's always good for me to talk with someone that really understands the game and really knows the game.
Yeah, no, thank you, Gio. I really appreciate the kind words. Same for you though. I've seen your growth over the past few years, and you've also been, really important as a reporter. As a doing the podcast now. You've grown your fan base. That's really good for the club, for you, for the sport, for the city. So I think you're showing some really good things for the city, and just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. Stay consistent, and don't stop.
Yeah, no, man, I appreciate you. I appreciate you saying that. All right, so now let's talk a little bit about LAFC, right? Like two couple days away, right? A couple days away from starting against Austin FC this Saturday. We saw a little bit of the preseason, right? And we even saw a couple of the players, afterwards. Whether it's LAFC 2, some of the academy guys, you name it. Let's recap the preseason. What were your overall thoughts about the preseason?
Well, to me, the biggest thing still is the goalkeeper situation. We still don't know who's going to be the starter. I know you've constantly asked Bob in the press conference, who's going to be the starter, and I don't even. I mean, I'm pretty sure he knows, but he probably just doesn't want to tell you yet. But yeah, that's one of the big takeaways from me in the preseason. Another one is in the midfield. We don't know who's going to be that third midfielder that's going to accompany a Tuesta and Blessing. I think it's between K and Sifu. On a personal note, I think Sifu should start, but just based on K's relationship with Bob, and he knows him since day one, and he knows the system. So I'm gonna think that Bob sticks with K to start against Austin. I hope it's Sifu though. But yeah, also Corey Baird. We got to see Corey Baird up top with Vela and Rossi. They looked pretty good in the first two preseason games. It's only going to get better from here out as the chemistry improves. So yeah, those three things are probably the biggest takeaways for me. What about you?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you. I think you and I kind of see the game very similar. I think the goalkeeper situation. The reason I asked Bob, right, because last week he was like, "Oh, we still haven't made a decision." Because typically around this season, around the preseason start, you want like we look at Matt Turner for New England Revolution. He started both games, right? Without a doubt, he's a starter, and it's interesting because I think one of the biggest challenges that LAFC is going to have is at the goalkeeper position if they're not able to nail it down this season because of everything of all the expectations we've heard what Carlos Vela has said about winning trophies, and even Bob today talked about that as well. But the biggest piece to this puzzle is that goalkeeper position. Whether he wants to tell me or the media or not, I think I would have liked if he would have went with one guy, if it's Pablo, right, or if it's Kenneth, right, start him from the preseason and give him more games, and then obviously you bring in the other all the goalkeeper because I'm more of the lines of thinking that hey, well, I don't know how the relationship is with the goalkeepers, but outside looking in, right? It's like, hey, we really trust you from the preseason to we're gonna ride with you all the way through. That's how I would take it. And that's I think how I would take it if I was a goalkeeper, right? But obviously, I'm not a coach. I'm not a goalkeeper. I'm not in their system. But I think the unknown of playing one goalkeeper one game and then playing another goalkeeper the next game, it's a little bit inconsistent. I don't know how much trust they really have in the goalkeepers, and I don't know how much trust the goalkeepers really had because both have not looked good at times, and I understand why the coaching staff may still be scratching their head, but I think at this point, with the weapons that you have, it makes it very interesting. We'll see what happens now on the midfield, right? I'm with you. I'm with you. I think Sifu is a stronger candidate, but I don't think K is far off. I don't think Kerry is far off, but I would start Sifu because he has other intangibles, and with Corey, I think Corey he looked more comfortable this game. I just got to talk to him. I really liked his mindset. I really liked what he had to say, but I think the midfield is where they're going to be the deepest at, and I think if for whatever reason K doesn't get the job done, then you have another piece there.
Right. Yeah. No, I totally agree. And the midfield is deep this year. You have Janela, you have Bryce Duke, You have even Raheem Edwards is coming up, right? I know he's just got back into training, so yeah, I mean it's gonna be tough competition in the midfield this year. You know, K, like you said, he's not far off, but I still think the the product that LAFC wants to display on the field is similar more to Sifu. And he also has more. He has that extra, like like the extra push, and yeah, I just see Sifu as a starter for this season.
Yeah, and I think it's gonna be interesting, right? For whatever, because I get the same feeling that K is gonna start. But I wonder how long the leash is, right? If say K makes a mistake or has a a bad game, how short is the leash that then the next game Cifuentes starts, or what I'm saying, or someone else gets this opportunity, because I think that's gonna play a role. Because to me, I don't know if you see it this way, but I think if Eduardo Tuesta leaves, I think Sifu could be the guy to replace Eduardo Tuesta
You mean in this position?
in his position. Yeah, out of the midfielders that they have right now.
Well, I see it a little bit differently. I think Ginella might be the one, only because I don't think Ginella can play like that midfield position a little higher. Like he tends to sit a little bit more back. He's not as fast as Sifu. He doesn't react as quick. He's more of a slow tempo kind of guy. So I think that just based on the way he plays, Ginella's best fit for the team is in the Atuesta role if he leaves, and I would see Sifu more like as a eight as opposed to like a six.
It's interesting. Yeah, I think we haven't seen too much of Janela, obviously because of Eduardo Tuesta. Eduardo Tuesta is playing there, but I think I just see it there because if the Tuesta leaves and you have Sifu and K playing there, right? Obviously, we know K and Tuesta. I mean, and Sifu play the same position. I think if I was out of those two, I would put them. But we'll see what happens. We don't have to cross that bridge just yet.
Right, right.
Um, but we know that that may happen, whether it's at the end of this year or in the summertime. But let's talk about Carlos Vela. He said he wants to win trophies with this team. Obviously, the three available trophies are Open Cup, Supporter Shield, and MLS Cup. What are your thoughts about this team and their chances of winning any of those three this season?
Well, if everyone's healthy, I think their chances are very, very high. I mean, we saw them in the CONCACAF Champions League last year when everybody was healthy. They were beating Mexican teams one, two, three, four times. If Vela's healthy, there's always a chance LAFC can make it all the way to the top. You can see Vela's determination and just in the way he expresses himself. He wants to win with LAFC. I don't think he came to MLS just to be a star. I know he wants to win. He wants to leave LAFC with a trophy in the cabinet. So yeah, I could see him being leading this team again to the playoffs. To the hopefully an Open Cup final, hopefully a Supporter Shield. So I think the mindset is there. It's just the execution has to be better than previous years. They always kind of choke in the final games in the playoffs. But yeah, like I said, if everyone's healthy, I could see LAFC going all the way this year for sure.
Out of those three trophies, I'm just a hot take. Out of those three trophies, which of those three do they win this year, and how many? How many of those three?
MLS Cup for sure. I would say that is the goal for the team. I know Supporter Shield is important because it shows your regular winning team. It gives you a chance to get into the Champions League next year, as well as the Open Cup does. But I think everybody is going to remember you for winning MLS Cup. Nobody really talks about Supporter Shield or Open Cup, unfortunately, even though they do have their meaningful trophies. But yeah, if my opinion, I think LAFC wins MLS Cup out of those three.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, the stakes are high for LAFC, as they should be with all this talent that they have, right? Like we said, Carlos Vela, Diego Rossi, and Eduardo Tuesta. Now let's talk about those two, right? We just hit on Eduardo Tuesta. I kind of get the sense that this could be the last couple of months for either both of them, or we know this could potentially be the last year. Depending how it goes, when do you, I guess, let's say, when do you think you see them leaving? Do you see either of those two leaving during the summer, or do you see them leaving towards the end of the year?
Well, hopefully, they stay until the end of the year, but we never know with these things. A European team could just come in the middle of the summer and, give a LAFC a really good offer, and you can't say no to a really good offer. That's what LAFC's motto is. They want to develop young players and then sell them. So yeah, I mean, I would hope that they stay until the end of the year just for LAFC's sake. But if they don't, LAFC has to be like prepared with a immediate replacement with someone that makes an impact like right away. They can't bring in just some young kid who's not proven like Brian Rodriguez, for example. They have to bring someone that's already, in the peak of their career because Atuesta and Rossi, they're game changers for LAFC. So you need someone like that to come in case they do leave in the summer or at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think I'm with you with that because if right, say LAFC is rolling, right? Let's just put that out there. They're rolling. Two clubs from Europe come down and or any club, right? Let's just put it that way because we know there's interest from South America for Eduardo Tuesta. Any club, right? Any two clubs come, they pick up Diego Rossi and Eduardo Tuesta. Obviously, we know that this team likes to go young, but I think if you're rolling, whenever that happens in here 2 to 3 months down the road, and you try to bring in some young guys, right? If Rossi leaves, you have a DP spot open, right? Eduardo Tuesta leaves, I think you have an international spot open. You want to bring in, some veterans, some players that have proven whether it's in Europe or wherever. I don't know if you want to bring in, like you said, like someone young and still unproven just yet. And I think a lot is going to tie into Brian Rodriguez if they're able to move him on as well. But I think it's going to be a very interesting summer for LAFC because obviously Vela has talked about Rossi wanting to get Rossi to get to Europe to that point. We know that Eduardo Tuesta can also play up there. So it's like, I think if they're rolling and they have to move him, then it's going to be very important for those replacements because yeah, you can go a couple games without those guys, and still trying to figure out who you're going to bring in for those. You have subs, right? Maybe you can move Corey Baird out wide or whatever. Start Danny Masevsky in the nine up top, but I think in that midfield that's going to be the biggest key, right? Because we know Eduardo Tuesta literally unlocks everything for this team, and I think that's going to be the biggest key because if right we're talking about them like people are ranking them number 2 in the power rankings, right? Their expectations of winning the MLS Cup. If those two players leave, it's gonna be challenging. But I think the expectation is still that they have to get to MLS Cup, right?
Right. Yeah, and let me ask you this: like, what I mean, it's very unlikely, but let's say Rossi or Atuesta, just they're not having a good year, like, and there's no offers. Like, what do you do with them as LAFC? Do you extend their contract? Like, what would you do if for some odd reason they're just not performing as well?
Do you mean like they're not performing and the team's not performing, as well as like the both team and player not performing well, or is it just a player not performing well?
Just the player, just the player.
I think that's really hard to see because of what Diego Rossi and Eduardo Tuesta we know we can do. But I think say for example Diego Rossi goes in a slump, right, and he's not doing things. I think it's going to be hard for LAFC to sell a player that's not making noise in the MLS, right? I
Right.
think it's going to be hard for Eduardo Tuesta, and I think what Eduardo Tuesta is if they don't sell him this summer, then essentially they don't get anything for him, like
Right. He leaves
financially.
for free.
Yeah, he leaves for free at the end of the year. So I think that's the biggest caveat. And for Diego Rossi, I think you want to get this right. Obviously, with Brian Rodriguez going to second division didn't work out. I think you want to get him to first division team, whether it's Premier League or the Bundesliga, La Liga. It has to be a first division league, mid tier team. I'm assuming I don't see them any big teams coming in mid tier team. But I think if the opportunities are there, I think you let it open. But if they're rolling and if they're not rolling and they're not having good seasons, I think the opportunities are going to be limited, and LAFC might just might just let one of them go, just to try to get something out of them. I think that's would be one of the options. You just let one of them go, preferably Eduardo Tuesta, because if you want to get something out of him, you let him go. But I don't think they'll have a bad season though.
No, I agree. I know it's very unlikely, but The good thing for Edward and for Diego is that they both want to go to Europe. They definitely want to increase their level up in Europe, and that's good for LAFC because they're gonna want to showcase how good they are to the European scouts. So I think it works out for both parties, and hopefully it translates into LAFC being a successful club in this season and making it to the playoffs and winning MLS Cup.
Yeah, I think another thing too that is understanding how strong this defense will be, right? Because we know how powered offense this defense I mean, excuse me, this offense is. But I think what we saw last year, LAFC was able to score goals, but at the same time they were conceding just about the same amount, right? And if we're talking
Right.
about them potentially going to the MLS Cup final or making a deep run, the defense has to be figured out. I think we see a couple players, but I think overall, at times we saw this last preseason, they gave up 3 goals. Two of those 3 goals was because the defense. I don't know what happened in those situations. There were just minor mistakes that and turn into goals, and I don't think you can have that this season if you have uh, those aspirations, right? But how strong do you think this defense really is?
I mean, it's definitely an upgrade with having Murillo back this season from the start. As last year we were dealing with Jakovic and Danilo Silva, Harvey at times playing center back. So we didn't have that guy. And then once Murillo came in, he made a really good partnership with Segura. But the issue at center back is that besides those two, I mean, they're not that deep at center back. Who is their replacement if one of them gets hurt? I know Harvey's playing center back for LAFC in the preseason for LAFC two or Las Vegas, and Tony Leone, the academy kid, he's only 16. I know Bob mentioned that he had a pretty good preseason, but 16 years old, you can't really give him keys to that center back starting job just yet. The good thing for LAFC is that they're deep also on the outside with the addition of Kim Moon Hwan and Farfan. Farfan could play left or right back. And yeah, other than that, I did notice in preseason that their set piece defending has improved, at least in those 2 games. Obviously it's just preseason, but at least in those 2 games, it's been better than last year. And like you mentioned, the careless passing at times out of the back has to be better. Kim Woon Hwan is still hurt. We don't know when he's gonna make his debut for LAFC. But my biggest thing for the defense is just based off what I remember since the start of this. A lot of goals that LAFC allow, it's not because the opposing team does the good play. It's mostly they like shoot themselves in the foot. They just make their own mistakes, and they allow like careless goals that shouldn't happen. It's a lot of individual defensive miscues. It's not about how the opponent had a really good play, they had a really good shot. It's mostly about just defensive players, being out of position, not 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 tracking back on a transition play. So yeah, they have to really clean that up. But if they do, they should be in good shape.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point. The center back positions is not that deep, right? We obviously know that you mentioned Jordan Harvey could potentially play there, but I think the biggest name that comes to mind is right Tristan Blackman. But he is looking so good at the right back position
Right.
that I mean, I feel like he's locked it down, right, to start the year. But obviously, if you don't want no injuries or nothing to happen or anything like that, but it's happened, right? To soccer, things tend to happen. You hope nothing serious, but I think if they do get tested in that center back position or because of injury or whatever happens, the player's not able to play, that could potentially be one of their Achilles heels. If because we know that what Tristan Beckham can do, we know what obviously Chiqui Palacios, Andy Segura, even though they didn't look so strong last game, we understand what they can do. But I think if LAFC is going to make a deep run, I think you want the same player starting at the same positions, right? Whether it's right back, left back. I don't know if you want that much movement, because I think that you want some consistency, right? You want some consistency, like, hey, I'm coming in day out, I know what I got to do. Yeah, I think you do like versatile players like Tristan Blackman can move in, but I think at the end of the day, if you're moving too many pieces in that defense, I don't think as a group they're able to really find their role, especially with adding new pieces, right? Let's say Tristan Blackman does play center back. I think the word is still out on Kim Won. We don't know what to expect. We saw 30
Right.
minutes of him, and it was, it didn't make you feel very confident about him. Let's
Right.
just say that. And it was 30
Right.
minutes, so it's really hard to judge him off of that. But I think we have to see a full game. But right now, I really do like what Tristan Blackman's doing on the backside. But I think if you start to move in a lot of pieces, I don't know how strong this defense could really be.
Right. Yeah. We don't want to see what happened last year with Blessing. Going having to go into right back, or even Eddie Segura playing right back at times. We don't want to see these experiments. We want to see consistency, like you said, and hopefully, Bob gets his players lined up well. At least for the preseason, we saw that he did put up the same back four for 2 consecutive games, so that's a good start. Hopefully that trend keeps going against Austin and moving forward. But yeah, the defense, they have to perform. They can't allow these silly goals, and they have to be mentally focused. For the 90 minutes, like in the first preseason match, the first 5-10 minutes of the second half, they allowed 2 goals. Same thing happened in the last match, the first half. They're already down 2-0 in the first 10 minutes, and I believe also that the defense's confidence also has to do with the goalkeeper. I
Mm.
feel like the communication with the goalkeeper also plays a huge role in how the defense sets up, where they're positioned. Does the goalkeeper tell them, oh, move to the left, move to the right, stay here, stay there. So I don't know who the center backs feel more comfortable with, whether it be Vermeer or Cisniega, but that's something to keep an eye on for me.
That's true because I mean, the goalkeeper like choose a football term. He's like the quarterback, right? The
Yeah,
goalkeeper's like he's telling you, hey,
exactly.
move over here. But that's what I'm saying. If you have two different voices telling you, I think the goalkeeper is kind of a trickle down effect. That's the way I just see it, right? LAFC, their coaching staff may not see it that way, but I think having that voice back there, you get used to like, okay, whether it's Pablo or Kenneth, like, okay, he's gonna tell me. I expect him to. He's the eyes behind your head, and I don't really see that. I don't really see them being that vocal, because sometimes you do hear goalkeepers, right? Like, hey,
Right,
move your right, move your left, and that. Whether we might have been too far or we might just not remember because it's been like we're in the we started this season, but I haven't really seen that yet of Kenneth Vermeer or Pablo Cisnegas. And you make a point, like which players, who do they feel more comfortable with, right?
right,
They're not going to tell us like, oh yeah, we feel more comfortable with Pablo. Obviously, you're not going to throw your teammate under the bus, but
right.
you got to imagine that some of those guys feel comfortable with Pablo, some of those guys feel comfortable with Kenneth. But if they feel that way, they're like, damn, it's like it could be split 50-50.
Right, right, right. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming I don't know if the language barrier is an issue for guys like Murillo or Segura. I know that Pablo speaks Spanish, and I don't know if Kenneth speaks Spanish, but maybe that could play a role into it. I don't know if they're comfortable talking in English. But yeah, I know. Who knows? I guess we'll see against Austin who Bob goes with, and we can probably see a better. We'll get a better understanding of how the goalkeepers and the back line communicate.
If you had to start one of those two, who would be your starter?
Pablo,
Pablo? Dang,
Pablo,
no hesitation.
nope,
No hesitation.
Pablo.
Why is this team hesitating then?
I don't know. I mean, maybe they see other things in training. Maybe they're paying a lot of money to Kenneth, so maybe they want to force him to play. Kind of get their money's worth. I don't know. I don't know what's going on in training. Maybe Kenneth has a better distribution with his feet. I know Pablo, still lacks in that a little bit, but also Kenneth has his moments as well. So it's kind of like who's the least worst. Who's I hate to say it, but it's kind of how it seems to be because Bob said they both have their own unique qualities. They're very different goalkeepers. So I guess it just depends on maybe who the opponent is. I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I mean it's a puzzle, right? That's like I
Yeah,
said, it's the biggest puzzle, and hopefully they nail it down because I don't know what's gonna happen. I definitely do believe that is their biggest challenge. Just to go back a bit, let's talk about. Obviously, we talked about Diego Rossi and Carlos Vela, but let's talk about the other piece, Corey Baird. He looked a lot to me. He looked a lot more comfortable the second game. I think obviously he got the assist to the goal of Diego Rossi. What are your thoughts about him and also the depth of the bench? Because we know there's Danny Masevsky, there's Mahala, but what are your overall thoughts of Corey Baird?
Just in the first two preseason games, I think he's looked, better than I expected. You could kind of tell that they've been working hard in training, to build that chemistry between Carlos and Diego. He's not like a Brian Rodriguez type of player where he just kind of on the wing, he wants the ball at his feet. Corey is more of the guy that does the dirty work. He asks for the ball, he makes good runs, he he like pivots. He plays with his back to the goal. He's very versatile. He plays on the right and the left and the wing. You can see the movement from the top three like every 5-10 minutes. They keep switching sides. So that's really good to see. It's good that he got an assist in the second game. That's also a confidence booster for him. And yeah, I'm just excited to see him, in a real game, regular season against Austin, and how that plays into effect. And as far as the depth for attackers, well, I feel like Bob's first option off the bench. Let's say if LAFC is down 1 or 2 goals, it seems like Mahala might be the first option off the bench. Depending, I guess, again, depending on the game. You also have Danny Musovsky. I think he scored like a few goals in the preseason with the LAFC two or Las Vegas Lights. And you also have Christian Torres coming up, from the academy. You have Cal Jennings on the roster. So yeah, it's really a tough battle for that striker position. But as of right now, it's Corey Baird's job, and it's only up to him if he loses that job. If he performs every game, I don't see him losing that spot, especially if he continues to play for the team. He's a very unselfish player. He likes to play for the team. He doesn't mind not scoring goals as long as he's active, as long as he's pressing the team. Yeah, I think Corey Barrett is going to be a really really good addition for LAFC this year.
Yeah, I think that there was a lot of LAFC fans were unsure about him. They had a couple people on that they weren't really sold on him, and obviously I'm more of the lines that like you just got to give him a shot. You got to see him play first. I had to see him play, right, and then the first game I was like okay, and the second game he just looked a lot more comfortable and really understood what he had to do. And I think what you said, right, he's the type of player that I sense is for the team, right? We talked about Brian Rodriguez. You said he was only one way. He's not as versatile as Corey Baird, right? We've only seen two preseason games, right? But I think Corey Baird is willing to do anything for this team, not just offensively, but also defensively. And I don't think we saw that from Brian Rodriguez on the defensive end. And I think that was one of the qualities he lacked. Yeah, he was very gifted, but obviously there was a lot of things that that he had to he was expected to do, and a lot of those things were he wasn't able to do. But I think I see Corey Baird doing those things, doing the dirty work, right? Going fighting for the ball, going down and playing defense because he knows Carlos Vela needs to stay up there. He's the biggest threat, right? I think all those little intangibles is if he's able to do those consistently, he's going to be able to keep that starting job, which we assume he's going to be a starter, all right, bearing injury. But also I think there is going to come a time. I think that during the season that I think Corey Baird's number is going to be called. Like, and what I mean that is they're trying to teams are locking down Vela, right? Diego Rossi doesn't have a it's not having a good game. Think there's going to be maybe 1 or 2 games this season that Corey Bear is going to have to step up and score maybe 1 or 2 goals, or just get a tap in goal, whatever. I kind of see that for Corey Baird, and obviously I don't expect Corey Baird to score 20 goals, right? Not at
Right.
all. I don't expect them to score that. I don't anything close to that, but I think he has to have uh, I think I can see him scoring more goals than Brian Rodriguez scored. What in his what 2 3 year career? I don't know how long he was with the LAFC, but I think he only scored two. I can see Corey Baird scoring more than that. And if you get that type of production and assists with that, LAFC, you won on this deal with Corey Baird.
Right. He's a natural goal scorer. I mean, he was playing with RSL. It's a completely different system. Different players. So now he's surrounded by all these amazing players around him. He didn't have a Vela. He didn't have a Rossi in Real Salt Lake. So now he has all these pieces around him, that can make open up all this space for him, and vice versa. He opens up space for them. So yeah, but like to your point, I do believe that there are going to be those you know tight games where there's not going to be a lot of space for Vela, a lot of space for Rossi, and Baird is going to have to be the one that steps up and scores the goals or makes that key pass to find the open man. I definitely agree with that, especially as the time goes by, because maybe in the first few games you might cut him some slack. He's just starting, but once he gets into the rhythm, definitely gonna be expecting more from him.
Yeah, and it's right. Like you said, right? He comes from RSO, which I'm assuming he had to be the guy to now going to come into LAFC where he doesn't have to necessarily be the guy because, and I think that kind of weight kind of takes, it's not necessarily on his shoulders because Carlos Vela's carrying that, right? Diego
Right,
Rossi's carrying that, and they can carry that. They just like, hey, we just need you to do this and maybe a little bit more than just this, but we can we can handle the goals. We need to just do this, and that. And I think this is a perfect situation for Corey Baird if he does that, right? Because
right,
the thing that I sense from Brian that he didn't want to do the dirty work. That I feel like sometimes he thought he came off across as being bigger than what he really was showing to us, right? And I
right.
don't I don't sense that from Corey Barrett. I think Corey Barrett, I got to talk to him, getting the sense with him, actually getting to talk to him and seeing where his mind's right. He's ready for the challenge, and I think he may surprise a lot of people this year.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. He's still very young too. I know he has aspirations to be in the national team. The Gold Cup coming up this summer. I know he's gonna try and make a run to make that team. So, the motivation's there. He has all the tools to be a great striker. He's, like I said, he's very versatile. He has the right mindset, like you said. So yeah, I mean, all signs are pointing to a successful year for Corey Baird, and let's hope that he doesn't let the team down and the fans down.
Yeah. So obviously, we just hit on Corey Baird, but what do you what's another player that you think may have a breakout season?
Uh, if he can find some regular minutes in the starting lineup, I say Cifuentes. I believe that he had a last year. It was his first year with LAFC. He wasn't there since the beginning. I know he came in like kind of mid-season, right? Is that correct? And yeah, I feel like it's been a upward trajectory with him. He's been getting better and better, getting in the system more comfortable. But yeah, I think he's a player that can be a really key player for LAFC if he gets that regular time in the starting 11. Because if he starts to come off the bench or get subbed off like every game, it's not going to be good for him. I think he's a player that needs to play like the full 90 consistently. To get that rhythm because he's got it all. He's got the speed. He's got the shot. He's got everything. He's got it all. I think he's someone that really excites me. He's one that really gets me motivated to watch LAFC games.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that because he also can shoot from the outside, right? We've seen him be aggressive and be able to want to shoot from outside the 18, right? And I think
Right.
one of those goals is coming this year. To your point, if he gets those minutes, um, but let's look forward to this game this Saturday, right? First game for Austin FC, right? LAFC, right, has been in the situation. We're very familiar with that situation, right? If you're an LAFC fan, um, for LAFC, obviously, they're obviously ranked number two. We expect them to be one of the strongest teams, but I think we also feel that Elfston FC is going to be coming in hard. Even Latif Blessing said like this is like their World Cup for them because right, this is how they introduce themselves to the world. So by
Right.
no means, I don't think this is going to be an easy game, but I do feel like LAFC need to start the season off right. We're getting a win at home. How do you see this game?
Well, just based off of their Austin's preseason, I know they had a little mini tournament in Texas where they play really good. They're very fearless. They like to play out of the back. They have some really good attacking players who like to shoot from far. They have a player, Pochettino. He's really good off set pieces. He scored two free kick goals. So LAFC has to be careful in not giving away any fouls outside the box because Pochettino can punish them for sure. They have a lot of experience in their roster. They have a few guys that have experience, already winning MLS Cup. They have Matt Bessler. They have their captain, Alex Ring, DP player Dominguez, Cecilio Dominguez. So I don't think it's going to be an easy game at all. They scored 10 goals in 3 preseason games. That's a lot of goals for just a team that's starting to build some chemistry. Given they did allow 7 goals, so that's not good for them also. But I could see a shootout in this one. I could see a high scoring match, just the way both teams play. Like to play the 4-3-3. Very attack minded teams. But I think LAFC is going to come out on top just because they've played together longer. Austin is still learning the system from their coach Josh Wolf. So, but I definitely see maybe a 3-2 match, something like that. Well, what do you think?
I mean, that's a high scoring game. I have look. I'm gonna be honest. I haven't seen Austin FC. I haven't really put in the time. I've been busy here, but from what I've been hearing, and you just talking about those stats, right? 10 goals and what looks 3 games. That's a lot of goals, right?
Yeah,
But also they're giving up seven goals too. So I think with those stats, I could see a higher scoring game because of what we know that LAFC is still trying to figure out some things, right?
right,
And I think this is going to be a good test for them to start the season, because you don't want to start the season with a loss, right? You want to start the
right.
season because also one thing we should also add, I think if you win, or depending on how you do the first 3 games, you qualify to the Open Cup, right?
That
Is it if you win every 3 game or the first three
so,
games?
so it's the top 8 teams of the whole league. Those are the ones that qualify for the Open Cup. So if you win your 3 games, you're pretty much guaranteed a spot. If you win two and tie one, you're in a pretty good spot also. But if you win two and lose one, it's the toss up. Because there's going to be a lot of teams that win 2 games. So yeah, I think getting that first win give you that confidence to play against Seattle in the following match, and then go to Houston and finish off the job there. So yeah, the first game is going to be super super important, both for the points and just for a confidence standpoint.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, Austin FC, right? So, and Bob Bradley talked about it today in today's press call, right? That they want, they asked him about what's the next step. He's like, the next step is winning, getting qualifying for the Open Cup is these next 3 games, right? Austin FC is this Saturday, then the next Saturday is the arch nemesis. You got the Seattle Sounders, Houston Dynamo, and then obviously LA Galaxy. So to start the season, there's only one game, which I believe is the Houston Dynamo, which is I feel like is a gimme game for them. But they're going to be tested right out the gate, and I think this is what you do want to see, right? If you're an LAFC fan, because you get to see how strong your team really is, and as LAFC living up to those expectations as everybody expects, right? So I think they start off strong. I'm with you if they went 2-1, 3-2, but I think the main thing is you want to see them dominate Austin FC, right?
Right.
I think you really want to see them dominate, depending how strong they are, because this is their first year. Unless Austin is a lot stronger than we really think they are, and they put up a great fight, which we assume. But if you have Carlos Vela, if you have Diego Rossi, right, if you have Eduardo Tuesta, and you're facing a new team, I think all bets are in LAFC. Some of the pressure's on there, but I don't think this game's too big for them. But I think they did definitely have to walk away with the win.
No, I agree. And speaking about the fourth game against the Galaxy, I mean, imagine it's like a warm up to that game, like a build up, because imagine you get to that Galaxy game and one of them qualifies for the Open Cup and the other one doesn't. It's going to be a battle for, it's going to be bragging rights pretty much. So I think it's kind of a warm up to that El Tráfico match. But yeah, the first game it's going to be intense. It's not going to be easy. I guarantee you that. Both are going to press. They're both going to take advantage of defensive mistakes if the other team makes them. So that first 15 20 minutes, that those are the study minutes, where you kind of feel out the game and see how the other team is playing. But I hope that LAFC just kind of takes the initiative and just goes at Austin and doesn't hold back. That's what I hope happens.
Yeah, I think we're hoping for the same thing. Ben, just to finish off here, let's finish off with this. How many goals do you think Carlos Vela will score this year if he's healthy?
If he's healthy, I'm gonna go with 20.
20. That's fair.
20,
Diego Rossi, if he stays throughout the whole year with LAFC.
15,
15. Corey Baird.
8.
Right. Okay. I ain't mad at that. I mean, those are very feasible numbers. So if Vela scores 20, Diego Rossi scores 15, that's 35. Corey Baird scores 8, that's 43. So it's about 43 goals between the three. That's a lot of
Yeah.
goals. So, and I could definitely see that happening. I think it's just on the other side. You hope LAFC doesn't concede 30 something goals, right?
Right.
You want it to be like maybe what 15 to 20 if you can have that. But yeah, Ben, I think that's all the time we have, man. I think we kind of hit on everything. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, man, just thank you for having me on the podcast again. It was fun. I really enjoy talking LAFC with you at the games, wherever we are at parking lot or here at the podcast now. So yeah, it's really fun. I enjoy it. Hopefully we'll be back again soon.
Yeah, definitely. I know you'll be at the game, but you're gonna be enjoying it, as a spectator. So definitely enjoy this game this Saturday. With your wife. I think you just got married
Yeah.
recently, right?
Yeah, just last year in November. So yeah, pretty recent.
Congrats.
Thank you, man.
When I
Appreciate
met
it.
him, I don't. He was not a married man. Now he has big responsibilities. So look, but
Yeah, adult life, man.
adult life, man, it comes at you quick. Well, hey, man. Well, before we let you go, let the people know where they can follow you.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at LAFC Benjamin. You can read my articles at heartoflafc.com. I'm gonna try and post a preview to the Austin match and have a post game report as well. So keep it tuned out for that.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining here on the live stream. Like I said, every Thursday night, every Thursday night we talk LAFC. We go through on the live stream. Just want to read a few. We got some people here in the chat that I missed. He said, "Well, LAFC struggle versus the Galaxy. Ronaldinho. We have a goalkeeper flaw. We definitely hit on that." And then Romandinho, who's a Galaxy fan, always likes to chime in here, which I love. I love he likes to chime in here. But thank you guys for joining us on the chat. Like I said, if you guys want to follow me, you guys can follow me on Twitter at Gio Garcia LA. Make sure to give this a podcast a 5-star rating if you just enjoyed this episode, and you can listen to this podcast